So, good evening, miss. Let me show you first my camera. So, now we will proceed to the chapter 2. So, our objective is to understand and know procurement. What is procurement? So, muna to ang objective. Next slide. So, chapter 4 is entitled Procurement. So, continuous supply. So, we have continuous supply. Stockouts of raw materials of component parts can shut down or force change production plans, resulting in unexpected cost. So, unsa man ang stockouts? So, kana mga stockout raw materials gani, kaya dapat imo na siyang mabantayan. So, whatever those mga unexpected costs inside sa imong company, dapat nakamonitor na siya. So, dapat dili na mo siya pasagdan. Next, we have the minimize inventory investment. Needed materials arrive just at the moment they are scheduled to be used in the production process. In other words, just in time. So, on time is a very important should na siya. So, imo na siya dapat on time ka permente. Dapat dili ka magka-late. Dapat dili nimo himuong normal ang malate. Sabi na kung nakay business. Dapat early bird ka. Next, quality improvement. If poor quality components and materials are used, then the final product likely no meet customer quality standards. So, dapat na kay quality improvement. So, like sa katong CRM gani ha. Kung na quality, so dapat sa procurement na dapat quality improvement. So, na importante man jud kay ng quality improvement or dapat kanang i-improve man jud ang quality. So, if ang imong product dili nindot og quality, din ang imong customer dili sa sila ganahang mopalit ana. So, mo na purpose sa imong quality. Mo na purpose kung anong kinahanglanon nimong paninduton imong product. Kung anong paninduton nimo tama ang iyang quality. So, para ganahan sa dang mga customer nga mopalit. Next, we have the supplier development. Supplier development is important to develop close relationship with those suppliers in order to share information and resource to achieve better results. So, supplier development, so dapat na kay nindot nga relationship sa imong supplier. So, dapat kabalo ka kung saan sila pagrespeto, kung saan sila pag-abi-abi. Kay sila ba na imong source of product. So, kung wala kay supplier, din wala kay product nga pwede nimo imaligya. So, that's why kinahanglan kang na ay good relationship between with them. Next, we have the access and innovation. So, access and innovation. It is the firms look to suppliers as source of innovation and new technology to aid in the design of new products and improvement of existing of ones. So, accessibility or the innovation of the product is important. So, usa na siya sa mga ways na imuha nga mahimong halinon ng imuhang mga item. Again, miso na ko'y tingog. Oh my God. Okay, next, we have the lowest total cost of ownership. Difference in perspective between a traditional adversarial and more contemporary collaborative procurement strategy can be summarized as a focus on total cost of ownership or the TCO. Procurement strategy is a complex process requiring considerable analysis of the most appropriate means to accomplish its many different objectives. So, muna procurement strategy. Next, we have the insourcing versus outsourcing. Fundamental decision that must be made in every organization relates to which products and services should be made or performed internally by the organization itself in which the purchase from supplier. Outsourcing a product or service does not mean that the company decides to purchase from a foreign supplier. It simply means that firm has decided not to produce an item or service internally. So mo na siya, mayan kay procurement strategy kung sa imong strategy kung unsaon ma-accomplish nimo ang different objectives sa imong company. In sourcing gani is about kanang internally kung saan nimo siya pag-perform internally saon nga nindot ang imong performance internally. So dili lang siya sa out kundi pati internal. So kinahanglanon na nimo siya para mas successful ang imong business. Next, user buy, or this we have the alternative procurement strategies. We have user buy, allow users in organization to determine their own purchase needs, evaluate source of supply, and execute purchase process. So, sa man ang user buy? Muna siya ang users in organization to determine their own purchase needs. So, saan nila para mo nilang way para makahibalo sila kung unsa to ilang mga kinahanglan pang paliton. Next, we have the volume consolidation. By considering volume with a limited number of suppliers, procurement is also positioned to leverage a share of suppliers' business. Next, we have the supplier operational integration. Occurs when buyers and sellers begin to integrate their process and activities in an attempt to achieve substantial performance improvement. So, supplier operational. So, for a word for supplier operation, book how the supplier work. Ano siya? Kung saan paglihok sa supplier para ma-deliver dayon na iyahang kuan, iyahang mga orders ngadto sa end user. Next, we have the value management. It's even more intense aspects of supplier integration, going beyond a focus on a buyer-seller operation to a more comprehensive and sustainable relationship. So, mo na siya. Value management. So, dapat na kay value sa imong pag-manage sa imong business. Okay, importante kayo na siya. Value engineering is a concept that involves closely examining material and component requirements at the early stage of product design to ensure that a balance of lowest total cost and quality incorporated into new product design. So, value engineering, so dapat na kay value sa imong engineering or engineering the way gi-build ang imong company. So, dapat na kay value para makita dara kung unsa kanindot ang imong mga product design. Next, we have procurement strategy or the portfolio. Understand exactly that what the firm is currently buying or planning to buy and how much is actually spent. So we have the spend analysis tool that it identifies how much is being spent on each type of product or service across all location in the firm. So dapat na kay spend analysis mo gani kag spend kung unsa ang pila ang imong gasto or pila imong gastuon. So dapat na dapat kabalo ka. We have the routine purchase. Typically seems that involve a low percentage of a firm is totally spent and involve very little supply risk. So always remember once you have purchase, nandiyo na yung mga supply risk. Nandiyo na yung dapat mo risk ka. Kamara ko na sa business nga mo risk shoot ka. Bisag wala pa kay sure nga mahimong successful ang imong business. Mo risk yapon ka. Which is padayunon yapon siya nimo siya sa pagbuhat. Next, we have the bottleneck purchases. Represent a unique procurement problem involve a small percentage of a firm spend. Supply risk is high and the lack of availability can cause significant operational becomes for buyer. So, ano siya? Best unique procurement problem involve small percentage of a firm spend. So mo na siya mga mga percentage kung pila lang how many percent ang imong paliton ina na ba. Lack of availability, risk of high availability. So usa to mga product nimo nga lack na og availability mo na siya mong dapat i-focus. Next, leverage purchases. So sa nang leverage purchases involve a little supply risk. Items are generally commodities where many alternative sources of supply exist. Next are the critical purchases. Typically, the strategic items and services that involves a high level of expenditure and are vital to the organization's success. Pasensya na jud miss. Ano ko tingog hapit. Have the supplier selection and assessment. Implementing and executing procurement strategy depends on the organization's supply base. Potential suppliers must be identified and capabilities to meet the buying organization's requirements must be assessed. So again, kung unsa tong mga requirements nga kinahanglanon sa imong mga customers, you must achieve that one. Supplier audits. Buying organization attempts to develop detailed understanding of a supplier organization and capabilities. So, attempts development detailed understanding. So, dapat magkasinapdanay mo sa inyong mga audits. Kung sa inyong mga nakasabutan nga transaction, dapat naka-detailed na siya tanan. Next, we have the supplier certification. A supplier that consistency meets performance standards set by the organization may be designated a certified supplier. E-commerce and procurement explosion in technology and information system is having major impact on the procurement activity of most organizations. Sama na siya. Next, we have the electronic data interchange, or EDI. Involves electronic transmission of data between a firm and its suppliers. Now, the logistical interfaces with procurement. Effective execution of procurement strategy ultimately depends on logistic. Just in time or GIT techniques have received considerable attention and discussion in recent years in all areas related to supply chain management. So just in time, so whatever those mga order product or mga naka-note ni mga product, dapat and on time siya nga imong mahatag sa imong mga supplier or sa imong customer. Next, we have the procurement of logistics services. Procurement development is in most organizations have been primarily concerned with direct spend to the strategies and relationships with suppliers of materials components. Performance-based logistics, Department of Defense or the DoD, the approach of dealing with suppliers called performance-based logistics has recently emergence. Nasuwiting ko. So that's all for the chapter 4, miss. So that's all for my report for the chapter 4 entitled procurement. So pasensya miss if I'm lacking sa explanation since wala ko'y tingog kayo. Kit kaya akong tutunlan. So that's all, miss. Thank you for listening.